Welcome back, everyone. Today's video is a little special, I think. This is the first radio that I've ever gotten from a customer that was serviced previously by the late, great Jeff Anderson. Jeff Anderson was a well-known figure in the Miata community because he was the only guy who would do repairs to the OEM stereos. You got to understand, there's a lot of folks who want to keep the original stereos in their dashboards because it's part of the car's heritage. It's what, it belongs there. It was designed to be there. The dashboard was designed with that stereo in mind. And a lot of folks don't want to change the appearance of their cars, especially a classic car. And Yes, in 2023, a 30-year-old Miata is a classic car, whether you like it or not. But we're not here to debate that. Jeff Anderson was in business for himself for many years. He was a retired electrical engineer, as far as I understand. And, he just had a long-standing reputation for solving problems for Miata owners. Jeff did not service the optional Pioneer stereos, which is funny because I personally like working on those. They're a lot of fun to work on, and I've pretty much nailed down everything that could ever go wrong with them and figured out how to fix them. But Jeff's specialty was headrest speaker modifications and general repairs and a few other things. So in this video, it's going to be a long video, so grab the popcorn or change to another YouTuber. But I'm going to try to go over this radio and see what I can identify that was changed. I actually have the notes that were given to the customer from Jeff upon completion of the work. You'll notice this one has a Sony CD player. These were a popular replacement for, and I'll admit, and Jeff was right about this, the original Panasonic CD players were absolutely terrible. Unreliable, terrible things. Never sounded that great. They skipped. So it was found out that this Sony CD player fits the slot quite well. I love CDs. But if I owned one of these stereos, I would elect for the third option, and that would be CD player deletion. I would remove the CD player and put a cubby hole there, because even though this kind of fits, it's not the right size. It's a little bit narrower, doesn't really fit. And I can only imagine what this looks like in a dashboard. I don't imagine it would look very good. So let's take a look at the back of this and see what we can see. So there's a lot of custom stuff going on here. He actually puts fuses. Now, smart move. He put a fused plug in here, and he also put in I guess that's how I would do it too. He's got his power. I'm going to see where he's pulling his power from, because that could help me with future mods as well. And he's got his audio plugs here, and you'll see he's literally taped off. Okay, this is an antenna jack. We can remove this. We don't need this. Obviously, you're going to plug in your antenna to this. For whatever reason, the Sony CD player must have a built-in tuner. That, or it's a bypass for some reason. So, it's also got what looks like an auxiliary jack. So I see what he did here. He actually did an external jumper on the auxiliary jack with electrical tape. I'm not judging Jeff at all. That's not how I would do it. That's just me. I'm all about making my work as invisible as possible and make it look factory. That's just who I am. That's how I roll. If it were me doing these, I would do it differently. I would jump it on the inside and maybe put a plastic plug there. Let's see, because the CD player cover is busted off for some reason. We'll just put this in here. Now I got to look over the notes and see what my job is. What is my job here? What am I supposed to be doing here? Yeah, this is the antenna jack for the Pioneer, a Panasonic, sorry. I'm sorry if I get them mixed up because I do all the time. Yeah, this feels like an antenna plug. I don't know why this is here. I don't even know what vehicle this comes out of. This is a factory option for like I don't know, GM, Chrysler. I don't know. I don't know what it came from. Toyota maybe Honda. I don't know who was using factory Sony stereos back then. Could be aftermarket. Could be aftermarket. I don't know why that's here. I think I know why. You know what? This must be a spacer. Yeah, he's got one here too. I'll make sure to put that back in where it came from. A lot of hokey pokiness, but whatever. Jeff had a lot of happy customers, so we won't be judging his work. I am not an engineer, he was, so he had his way, I have mine. That's not what we're doing here. We're not looking at anything. Oh my God, what an idiot! No, that's not what I do. I don't want to give off that impression, but I do have a particular way of doing certain things that I may not agree with that he's done, and that's okay. I like how he's used fuses. It's very smart. That's actually, what is that, a 1 amp? Looks like a 1 amp fuse. He's got a 1 amp and a 3 amp. Interesting. All right, let me plug this thing in and see what it does and doesn't do. And then we'll go from there. But I'm going to go over my notes and see what this customer wanted. This is definitely a different kind of job. I thought he had an aux jack. Oh, he does. So this is an auxiliary plug. So this is designed to kind of route through the dash so we could plug in a device. Let me explain why I don't do auxiliary plugs. I don't do them because I feel like in 2023, the number of devices that you can use this with is dwindling. And to streamline my inventory, I don't want to be stocking auxiliary jacks. I want to streamline my process, and that means limiting the options that I offer. I do offer some options, such as I will change the color of your lights if it's doable. I've already done that once. I'll do it with or without Bluetooth. I don't want to offer these auxiliary jack mods. I just don't want to do it. It's my choice. It's my business, you know. If pressed, I'll do it, because I had one person who was very upset with me that I wouldn't do one. But I'm like, that's just not on the menu. You know, you don't go to a restaurant that sells steak and ask for chicken unless it's on the menu. That's a really crass way to put it, but I have to decide what kinds of services that I want to offer. And here's the thing, of all the customers that wanted auxiliary jacks, they didn't know Bluetooth was an option. So when they found out that I do Bluetooth modifications, they jumped on that. They're like, whoa, wait, you mean I don't need a plug hanging out of my dash? All right, sign me up. So I found that most of my customer base, that's all they really want. So that's why I don't do aux jacks. Jeff Anderson did them, made a lot of money doing them, and he was good at it. And they're actually probably easier to do than Bluetooth mods. It's not a matter of that. And as far as cost, believe it or not, guys, the Bluetooth modules and the auxiliary jacks, price difference really wouldn't be much. Maybe it would, because I wouldn't have to run power wires. But anyway, let's fire this thing up and see what it does or doesn't do. Let's see. Turn it on. Okay, we got lights. I think that was the CD player doing that. So turn it on. Ooh. Very weak audio. Very weak. Let's see here. Okay, here we go.
Find Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along.
That channel, the right channel's weak.
ZipRecruiter.com/free.
I think that's really his biggest concern. Let me look over the notes here. So this is all the Jeff Anderson stuff. This tells me what he did. So he's got a ground wire to amp remote in the amp remote in on the car audio, blue and white. He has a nice little diagram of what he does here. Rotary Commander RMX4S. I don't know what that's for. No. Remote in. I don't know what that's all about. Oh, okay. This is a diagram for the CD player. So apparently the CD player has an optional remote. So that little 1/8" audio jack in the back is actually for a remote control, which is kind of cool. This just tells you what is and is not being used here. So it looks like the antenna connector is used for a speaker system. Car antenna, it's a car antenna pass-through. That's interesting. Okay, so that's just the documentation for the CD player. Okay, what about this one here? Okay, I got receipts for what he did and what he charged. I will say, the guy didn't charge very much for his work. It was worked on back in 2002. Wow. Huh. 4/1 of 02. Miata radio headrest service. Now that was 47. Okay, so his prices were pretty equivalent to. Okay. So the pricing. This is like 2002 pricing. So that kind of makes a little bit of sense. All right. So I see what was done. He did initially Sony CD direct wiring, audio extension cable, auxiliary, insurance, replace all radio lamps. He's already done that. No, he didn't do that. He didn't do radio lamps. He did bundle pricing like I do. Okay. So I'm just going over the notes here from Jeff Anderson. God rest his soul. He had a good thing going with this business. I'm telling you, he really did well. Let's see. Most of his modifications were to the headrest audio. So let me explain what I mean by that. So when these cars were wired from the factory, most of the headrests were wired incorrectly. For one reason or another, the cars that got the Panasonic radios, the pins were done in the wrong spots on the headrest wiring, and God only knows why. And what Jeff offered was a way to repair that. And he actually tells the customer which pins are supposed to go where. So the customer could repin their own headrest harness. So these are the instructions for that. Another thing to point out, and what I've read is the Pioneer cars, like mine, they were wired correctly. Don't ask me why. So this is all of his wiring, which what I'm going to do, I'm going to probably copy all that, and because Jeff is no longer in business, people still need this info. So I may just offer it to any customer for free. I'll make it publicly available. I need to find a way to get a hold of Jeff Anderson's estate. If anybody knows, anyone who works with him knows him personally, I'd like to get in touch, because the guy was a wealth of information and he knew his stuff. All right, so we know that works. Let's check the cassette deck. See if that's any good. You can fix that for him. Yeah, it's locked right up. Okay, typical stuff. So we'll do a cassette deck. The records don't show that the lights were ever changed on this. So I may offer to do a relamp. I don't think it's necessary though. I mean, it looks pretty bright to me. How's the CD player work? I like this CD player. Yeah, CD player works good. This is a nice CD player. I mean, it's got a nice display. It's green. It's beautiful. I'll have to figure out a way to get some more of these. Yeah. You know, okay, that looks good to me. CD player is fine. I believe he wanted Bluetooth. We're back to, again, people don't want aux jacks. They want Bluetooth. At the end of the day, that's what they want. Except for the one or two guys who don't want that, which few and far between. Okay. As for the audio issues, we're going to start with capacitors on this. So I'm going to have to order some capacitors and obviously check for broken connections. But because I can hear audio very faintly, I think the issue is going to be capacitors in this case. So let's crack this sucker open and see what it looks like inside. And see if we can come up with a solution for them. I am still waiting for parts for my... I've got 2 customers with bad rotary encoders. And again, I'm just waiting for parts for those. And those are the rotary encoders for the newer style Pioneer radios. So we're going to need those to come in hopefully soon. And maybe I'll strike up a relationship with that supplier. They want a copy of my business license, which is, I'm not really interested in giving that out. I don't feel like I need to prove anything to anybody, but that's just me. So, let's see. He did say that I could get a price break, but it won't be much. I have a relationship with a belt and lamp supplier. I get a pretty good price with them. But, you know, I get like 10% off, which is quite nice, because I buy so much stuff from them. So this CD player is, this is the model CDX1000RF. That's the model. And I'm going to offer to remove that stupid antenna wire so it's not in the way. I'm not even going to charge him for that. We'll just take it off. I'll ask if he wants it, I'll do it. But it'll kind of clean up the back of his stereo housing or area. Got Jeff Anderson's address here. I believe he lived in the villages in Florida. So I'm gonna probably write a letter saying, you know, I'm sorry for your loss, but if there's any way I can help with some of these customers, I mean, maybe we can work something out. I mean, the whole community has been mourning his loss, but they also still want their radios fixed, and I'm hoping I can kind of fill in that area, that gap. But I'm going to see if he did anything internally to... Oh, one of the things he was doing was he was modifying the headrest speaker so that they would produce full audio. So that the factory nerfs the headrest audio on these for one reason or another, and so they don't sound as good as they could. They're not full range speakers, so they're like I said, they've been nerfed so that they're not able to produce. So I think what he's doing is he's bypassing a couple of resistors, which filter out highs and lows and whatnot. Right off the bat, I'm seeing stuff that was modified. Here's our cassette deck. I don't have any belts left for those, do I? I think I used up all my belts that I had just bought. Yeah, I have one left. I got one belt left, so we'll take care of that. All right, let's check her out. So this radio was like 10 years old when it was modified. Do these have production dates on them? Well, the motor does. This was made in 91. So, okay. So, yeah, I'm seeing a little bit of, wow, he uses, it's not even hot glue. What is that? It's like epoxy. So you got his auxiliary jack wired, looks like it's wired directly onto the audio board. Okay, that's not how I do mine, but if it works, it works. Okay, all right. I'm going to take a lot of photos of this because I could be, now, if he was still alive, and I was, here's the thing is when I started my business, he was alive. When I started, kind of really got into this, he was still around, and I had been meaning to reach out to him, and then I went on the Miata.net forum, and I found out that he had passed away. But my goal was, hey, you send me the MSSS stereos and I'll send you the Panasonics, and we can kind of work it out that way. Like, I was really getting excited to work with this guy. I had not spoken to him. I had not emailed him yet. I think I contacted him once, right around the time I got my car, to see if he was offering repairs on those Pioneer radios. That was where that was my goal. I'm like, I was going to have him fix mine, but then he said, no, I'm sorry, I don't work on those. I didn't really think anything of it, and then I ended up doing it myself. And so, long story short, I was hoping to strike up a business relationship with the guy, and I would send him any Panasonics that came my way, and he could send me the Pioneers. A little bit of tit for tat, so to speak. That was what I was hoping we could do, but obviously it didn't work out. He passed on, and now we're left without a... Oh, and there was one. But anyway, this is the thing, is they say that when a man dies, or a woman, when a person dies would be the correct way to say it, a library burns to the ground. Every time a person dies, a library burns. And it's true, because everyone has their specialty. Every human being has something that they know or they do better than somebody else, or that they've been doing for so long, or they do 100 million different things at once, and they just know so much. Well, it's true that when somebody dies, it's more than just the loss of a life. It's the loss of knowledge and experience. Here we go. So let's look for cut traces. I don't see anything. I see a lot of what looks like corrosion here. That looks like old flux to me. This is cut. Something cut out of here. Kitty wants in. But yeah, he's got a resistor here. I gotta take good photos. Looks like he punched a hole in the board here. Ran a wire through it. Very interesting. My kitty wants to see me. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Okay. Let me get some of this cleaned off here. Some of this there's a lot of corrosion. That looks like it could be from old flux. This was done over 10 years, almost 20 years ago. Hard to believe. But yeah, Jeff Anderson, he was another library burned down. And of course, every electrical engineer that I know has died. So, yeah, it's depressing, but it's life. Let's see. I need to look at an unmodified one, which I have one right here. I got two of them. There we go. Oh, this one's modified. Oh, I did this one. This one had a problem, and I had to jump a few things on it. But let's take a look at what we did here. So let's get them in the same orientation. Looks like I'll have to take the back off and get a good look at her. But yeah, he more or less deleted a bunch of pins. Okay. Right over here, he bridged all of this. Not sure why, but he did indeed. He bridged that there. Let's take a look. We're gonna have to probably recap this amplifier anyway, so might as well dig in. But I think I know what the problem is. It's gonna be bad capacitors. Got a couple of breaks here on the board. Remember solder breaks? Yeah. Panasonic's unavoidable on these. But I'm more curious to see where he wired in his aux jack, because he did it in a way that I've never seen before. Well, because I'm the only one who's really done them besides him. So I guess that makes sense then, doesn't it? I'm going to take the faceplate off. I'm not going to have the capacitors that I need. Shouldn't be anything done to the faceplate. Did he do lamps? I'm going to say probably not. No, those look like factory solder points to me. No, wait a minute. It's possible. Yeah, I think somebody did lamps. Those aren't factory. No, I think it's been apart. Okay. I'm not gonna suggest we do lamps on this one. We'll save them a few bucks. I think they've been done before. I have good reason to suspect that, actually. Because, yeah, those aren't factory solder marks that I'm seeing. Okay. I do want to see this. Yeah, he's connecting his auxiliaries to the audio board directly. I see what he's doing here. These are always a pain to get out of there, but they're even harder when you have this wire in your way. Let's get that screw out of there. Oh, come on now. There we go. Let's take the whole thing with us. But yeah, I mean it. If anybody knows or is in contact with the family, or if you are the family, please reach out to me. I'm dying to, if he has any documentation as to what exactly he was doing, I would love to know. I don't know if I can afford to pay you, but at least I can keep his modifications going, you know, because there's still a demand for them. I mean, every so many weeks I get a request. It's like, hey, do you do the Jeff Anderson mods? And I have to say no, because I don't. I don't know what he was doing. But this radio is the first clue to some of those mods. And I'm gonna take photos of everything I see. And this cable is in my way. I can't get it out of there. Cable is so totally... Oh, there we go. If I can get it sideways, maybe. There we go. Got it. Okay. Right. See a wire here that isn't factory. I don't know if there's a resistor in there. I'll have to check it with a multimeter and see. Okay, so he was drilling. I see what he did here. So he drilled it. He drilled from the back of the board. 3 holes, 1 for ground. Okay, these aren't factory. These are not. These are custom. And it looks like there's a lot of crusty stuff here that could be conductive that might be causing our poor audio sound. If we brush that away, if we kind of clean that off, that might actually fix his audio problem. Sometimes corrosion can be conductive, and it can start to cause a slight short to ground, or it can just cause, you know, especially in sensitive areas. Yeah, looks like he's resoldered a lot of these connectors, which is pretty typical for a Panasonic. They really are terrible. It's not a joke. They are bad with their soldering work. So he just tapped right off of these. Yeah, I see what he's done. Okay. Very cool. Good to know that. So that's all he's doing for his audio. This is for audio in, and I don't know how he's muting the audio going in, or if he is at all. But at least we know what he's done. I'm gonna get some good photos of that later on. These jumpers are factory. This is not. This is not factory. So I think what I'm going to do is, once we've cleaned these boards up, we're gonna see. Let's take this apart. Take the amplifier apart and see what he's done there. I get an idea. I have a funny feeling. I know what I'm gonna see here. He's gonna have some pins pulled out from that jack in the back here, and this is kind of neat. This is like a treasure hunt. Like, what did he do? Like, I'm trying to solve a cryptex, only I have mediocre electronics engineering skills. See, I can fix things, but when it comes to re-engineering things, it takes a lot more experience and knowledge, and that comes with time. That comes with time. But I'm going to point out that we're not going to reverse any of his mods. We're going to leave them the way they are. And well, yeah, Jeff Anderson, he was the man. And right now I am currently the only guy left specializing in Miata stereos. I don't know how long I'm going to live, so I'm going to try to document some stuff. I mean, you never know. You could get hit by a car tomorrow. I've been hit by a car, so I know what that's like. You never know. You never know when your number's up, you know? So let's hopefully... oops. And I got to thank this customer. You know who you are, for sending this to me. I really appreciate this. This radio has been serviced. This is the 3rd time it's been serviced since 2002, it looks like. The 3rd time. So it's definitely been apart a few times. Oh, there we go. And I think this one is just, yeah, there we go. Okay, I'll get it apart, making sure that we don't disturb any electrical work, or custom electrical work here. Okay. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Yeah, he definitely Oh, wow, okay. Yeah, I see there. He drilled holes. He sure did. Yeah, he bypassed the audio outputs and the audio out and the in. He bypassed them with bent wire. He then rerouted it through to the where do those wires go? Okay, so his grounds go here. So his grounds meet up right here. That's what this is all jumpered for. And then it's got the center pins left and right routed this way. Boom, boom. And then he's jumpered. What he could have done, and I don't know why he didn't do this, again, it's just my question, you know, why didn't he do this? But I feel that there's jumper pins here, which mimic the factory jumper plug. But all he had to do is bridge here and here. I don't know why he did the jumpers. I'm not going to question it. But, and then he's got a resistor here. I got to figure out what that pin's for, though. And then that goes, it feels like a solid piece of wire, but I don't know for sure. It could have you know, it almost feels like there's a resistor at the end of this. And that goes to that pin there. Lots of unknown questions and answers. I don't know. 50 volt 1 microfarad and 10 volt 16s. What do I have? I got 10 volt. No, I don't have any 10 16s. 50 volt 100s. No, I'm going to have to go shopping. We'll have to go shopping for some more capacitors. Well, anyway, this was exciting. I'm not sure if recapping the amp is going to work. It works in the Panasonics, but only, or the Pioneers, because the Pioneers have a few caps that are obviously bad. These are mounted differently, and they're harder to see. Harder to really tell whether they're leaking or not, because usually the ones that are leaking are the ones that are bad. So I don't see anything obvious. So maybe just a full recap of the amplifier. We'll try that and then see where it goes from there. And then if that doesn't work, we'll have to continue on with other stuff. So good times. 10 volt 100. Yeah, I got to make a cap list, and we'll obviously proceed further into this one and see what we can come up with. I just noticed that these transistors in the back here, they're crooked. Looks like they've been replaced, but they're mounted crooked for some reason. So that's custom. Now these other wires that he's got going on for the power, they're going all over the place. Very interesting. So that's my first Jeff Anderson radio, and I hope you've enjoyed watching me muddle through this one. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. Well, I'm gonna have to do some soul searching on this one and hopefully come up with a meaningful solution for him. I'm sure I can do that. I'll try like hell. But I gotta come up with a cap list for this amplifier board. We'll start there and then work our way through until we figure out the audio problem. It's got a weak channel. I did see a lot of corrosion that could potentially cause a weak channel, but so could bad caps after 30 some odd years. Because nothing in the note says that it was ever done, ever even addressed. Not that it should have been because of its age. But I'm going to put his amplifier in this tub right here. I'm going to put him on the shelf and get him, find him a resolution. for watching. Have a great day. So here's the deal. All of these, I only have the 50 volts on hand, and I've got some of these 100 microfarad 10 volts. The 50 volts that I've yanked so far have all shown a little bit of, see that greenish appearance? That's electrolyte. These are all leaking. So they're all beginning to fail. Some worse than others. Yeah, just like they do in the Panasonics. And on the Panasonics, I can see if they're leaking because the way they're mounted, the holes are split apart a little bit. So you can actually see if they're leaking. If they're not leaking, I don't categorically replace them because it's not necessary. If they haven't leaked after 30 years, they probably never will. I mean, that's kind of how I roll. So, I mean, the way I see it, if I were to charge for a full recap, my prices would have to go up again. So I only replace what I need to replace rather than doing everything at once. And that's worked out for me quite well so far. I also see a couple of broken solder joints, which we'll hit while we're in here. I'm going to replace what I can right now, and then I'm going to try it and see if it changes anything. But yeah, so far though, yeah, we got a lot of leaking caps here. And 'tis the season. I will actually offer my customers a premium service where I replace all of the capacitors at request, and it's not going to be, you know, it's going to add to the price, and it just means I'm going to have to do more work. I don't want to do that, but I think it's, for some of these radios, it's going to have to happen. The Panasonics, the way the caps are mounted, you can't see if they're leaking, so you can't see ahead of time, okay, yeah, these are bad, those are bad, replace those. On the Pioneers, because the legs are split apart so far, you can actually see almost the full length of the capacitor's leg. Or leads, I think the correct term is leads, but you can see them all, and you can see if they're discoloring, well, that means that the seal has failed. And when that happens, you know, it's going to start causing a little bit of electronic distortion, or weak audio, or something to that effect. But on these, yeah, the Panasonics, we got to actually remove them to tell if there's any leakage. In some cases that might make sense, but you know, it's kind of a crapshoot. And here's the deal: if you heat up a 30-year-old capacitor to remove it, guess what? You're not going to put it back in, are you? You're not really that dumb. You're not that stupid. You're not going to put it back in there. Because once they get exposed to the heat after all that age, they're going to start leaking. So if you're going to pull it, you might as well plan on replacing it, because that's what you're going to do. That's the right thing to do. But yeah, like I said, I may offer a like a premium, a full cap job. That might end up being a service that I do offer at some point. Now that I have better tools, I have a solder vacuum. That's huge. That is huge, absolutely huge, because I can do a complete recap job in a fraction of the time that it used to take. I mean, a fraction of the time, in and out, and that significantly lowers my labor costs, because my time is worth something. And if I'm going to recap a board with a soldering iron and a roll of solder wick, you bet your ass I'm going to charge for that. That's time consuming. Very time consuming, and I don't want to do that. But now that I have the right tool for the job, best $350 I ever spent, it actually looks like it may be a reasonable thing to do. So we got those replaced. Now I've got the 100 10-volt 100s. Did I seriously just do that? Hold on. I can't believe I did that. I didn't push the capacitor in all the way, so it's like hanging out down the street. All right, so let's fix that now. Okay, there we go. Oh yeah, and if you touch the soldering iron to something that's leaking, you're gonna smell it. My God, I actually am not smelling electrolyte here, which is kind of surprising. The leakage has only just begun on these, so it's a 110 volt. I got what, one of those? Is it one or more? 110s. I got 100. Yeah, I got plenty of those. So we'll take those out. So I gotta get the old solder suckerini. So get that heated up. And I'm gonna put it back together, and we're gonna try it again. By the way, before I do a recap, I mark every cap, excuse me, with a red marker. Every one. Doesn't matter whether it's on the chopping block or not, it gets marked off. So I'm just going to identify where this one is. It should be right there. Yep. See how fast that was? Done. And now I can smell it now. Oh yeah, this one's a leaker. Yep. She's a leaker, mama. As oh, shithouse, yes. Yeah, that one's bad. Yeah, this one too. Steve Lavamonier, my favorite New Englander. I've never seen Steve Lavamonier. If you can make it, if you can make your way through, oh, that wasn't one. There we go. If you can make your way through a Steve Lavamonier video, you're special. 10-100. Is that it? No, there's a third one back here, I think. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Can you even see what I'm doing? Yeah, it starts to smell the odor of a bad capacitor. It's obvious, and it's ridiculously bad. Yeah, that one was leaking too. What did we pull? 3 of them? I'll order more of these. I got a shopping list here. What I need to buy. Crack open my Mauser account. I don't really get much of a discount with Mauser. I don't buy enough volume from them to matter. So there's that. I did, by the way, find a local supplier for capacitors and other stuff. They sell NTE products, which is a very well-known distributor of components like capacitors, resistors, and such. Really, for the hobbyist or really low volume purchases, because their prices they're retail. You're paying retail pricing for these, like with the packaging and the marketing. When you buy them directly from Mauser, you get a much better price. You're basically buying them in bulk. So you're getting a better price that way. So we'll turn that guy off, put that away. Look, if you're doing electronics work and you don't have one of these Hacko suckers, you're gonna thank yourself if you buy one. I mean, they are worth the money. Just in the frustration of having to dick around with solder wick, just for one job. Now, if you're gonna do like 1 or 2 repairs a year like this, yeah, maybe don't. But if you're gonna do a whole bunch of them, like I'm doing here, yeah, worth the money. Worth the money. And there's other ones out there. I like Hacko products because they're actually made in Japan, where everything else is made in frickin' China. I totally am willing to pay the money for Japanese quality, 100%. So, okay. We've replaced most of the capacitors on that board. There's still more to go, but I think it's worth a try. 16 volt, 10 micro. I've got I got ceramic capacitors, but I don't want to use them on this. I don't think they're appropriate for this application, so I'm going to phase out my use of ceramic capacitors in audio circuits because they're not appropriate. They work, but they can introduce kind of a metallic sound, I found. Totally wasn't expecting all that, but they can introduce interference and metallic-y sounds. Okay, these capacitors here, I can see, looks like these might have been done, and none of these are leaking. These are on the audio board, and they are in good shape, except for maybe these two. 1 microfarad, 50 volt. I don't see any leakage there. You know, we can do them. Let's do them. Let's just do them. We're here. Let's do them. Rip them out. Like bad teeth. 0.47 microfarad, 50 volt. I got ceramics. Shit, these use a lot of these. There's a lot of them here. Let's mark them. Red pen. Okay. Let's do them. Rip them out. And let's see, it looks like the dot on the dot indicates negative. See how fast, how quick? Wait. Make sure I'm doing the right ones here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, those are the ones I'm swapping because I have a lot of them on hand, so we'll use them. Just look at how quick this is with the right tools. Oops, gotta let it heat up. let it heat up. And when the pitch changes, when the pitch begins to change, you know it's clogging up. So then you got to ream it out with the little tool. All of them. This is a 4.725 volt. Don't have any of those. How about a 10 volt 330? No, don't got that one either. How about 106.3? Yeah, I got one of those too. Okay, so we'll swap that one out as well. Let's see what we can do. We need what? 1, 2. We need 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are a little on the tall side, but that shouldn't be a problem. There's plenty of headroom. One, 2, 3, and 4. Oh. Check your work, guys. Check your work. Make sure you're not putting anything in backwards, because I just did that. Okay, so solder them in. We'll replace what we can, you know? We'll go from there.
And his father, a United States Senator from California, had been shot and crippled during a primary campaign 9 years ago. The tragedies of the Doughertys were the stuff of endless magazine covers, from People to Good Housekeeping to Playboy to Vanity Fair, a national obsession. In time, Brian could have a political career of his own if he wished, but he was fleeing from those responsibilities. 4 years ago, he dropped out of Harvard. Since then, he had traveled the world, bumming on American Express.
We didn't fix it, but we determined that the problem is not in the amplifier now. It's not in the audio board. It's something in the AM/FM receiver. So we're going to have to recap the receiver, more than likely. And this is actually, by the way, this is a problem I found in the Pioneers. There are about 4 capacitors on the receiver board that are prone to failure. So if we pull the audio from the receiver, we have almost nothing coming out of that channel. But now, and those capacitors that I replaced were not, that was not a waste. They were leaking. I mean, they really were bad. So the problem is it exists on the tuner board rather than where I thought it was. So I also figured out that the Jeff Anderson mod, this is clever. I don't know how he's doing this, but it cuts out the audio automatically for the tuner when you plumb audio into that board. It's like it overpowers it. I don't know for sure. I'm going to have to dig in and take a few more notes, but it really works. I don't know how, but it works. So when I do my, I'm going to do so what this customer wants, I went back through my notes, and what he really wants is he wants this audio jack removed. He doesn't use it. He wants to have a Bluetooth. See, remember, like I said, that's what most people want. They want Bluetooth. They don't want an aux jack, because you can't even buy an iPod or a phone with an 1/8" audio jack. Everything is Bluetooth these days. So that's what they want. So we're going to make him happy. We're going to remove it, but we're going to put a Bluetooth mod in this, and that's going to take care of it. So I've got to now document all of these caps and replace them, and that should potentially fix it. Like I said, that's a problem that exists not only on the Panasonics, but also on the Pioneers. So I've got to build up an order list, and we'll start ordering stuff. So just a quick follow-up on this video. I did end up repairing the stereo. I got the audio balanced from the tuner. It turns out there were about, in addition to the ones that I found leaking in the power supply, there were approximately maybe 3 50 volt 1 microfarad capacitors that were bad. I recently purchased a new capacitor analyzer. I went with the Peak Atlas ESR 70 Gold, and it was money well spent. I was able to. So what I started doing is I bought every capacitor on the entire in the entire radio. I bought about a dozen of each, and as I was pulling them, I was testing them. And rather than putting the old ones back, I just put new ones in. They weren't that expensive. So I pulled them, test them, and they almost all of them were fine. They weren't leaking electrolyte, and they were not out of spec. So ESR was well within range. Capacitance was also well within range. So I went ahead and pulled a couple of 50 volt 1 microfarad ones, and out of, I think I pulled out like 5 of them, and out of that, maybe 3 of them were bad. They weren't leaking, obviously. There was no electrolyte, but they were definitely out of spec. The ESR meter gave me a low capacitance warning, so they were definitely below at least. That model of ESR meter, I think it goes down to about 0.33 microfarad. Anything below that, it fails. So there we go. And now we know what was wrong with it. It was definitely capacitors the entire time. And they were not on the tuner board, but they were on the like the main interconnect board below. So we got another success. Happy customer. Radio is on its way, and hopefully he'll be happy for years to come. That particular radio was an anomaly because I ended up, rather than pulling, testing, and reinstalling the capacitors like I would normally do, I replaced them all just to see how much time it would take and how expensive it was going to be. When you start adding up these capacitors, the price starts to go up. They're about 30 to 50 cents a piece, and that can add up quick. So there we go, all set to go, and hopefully he'll be on his way. I did learn a few things from looking over Jeff Anderson's radio, but the problem is I don't have enough detail and the methodology behind what he was doing to really offer his services. And if anybody knows how to contact his family, I have a mailing address, but I'm hesitant to reach out. I don't know how they would receive that information. If I could pay for or somehow acquire some of the information he had, maybe a schematic or two, something. But for the meantime, I can't offer his services. I did learn how he connected his auxiliary jacks. It's different from how I was doing my Bluetooth mods, but he's tying directly into the audio board, which is interesting. So I figured out what he was doing there. But again, there's so much information I do not have that I'm not willing to just start offering his services. But if somebody has more information on what his mods were, a detailed list, maybe some schematics, parts lists, anything. Because I get a lot of requests. Do you do the Jeff Anderson mods? And the answer is always, I'm sorry, I don't. Like I said, I think I said it in this video, every time a human being dies, a library burns to the ground. And that is such a true statement. especially someone who's an engineer and has been for a lifetime. Somebody who, builds, designs, and creates. You can't replicate that. And you obviously, if you wrote everything down, it could be replicated, but it's not the same. So that's it. Thank you for watching, and look forward to more content. If you want your radio serviced, go to savemyradio.com. That's savemyradio.com. And maybe I can save yours.